Alright, so this is the first time I'm going to try doing this setup. So I've got my Oculus Quest 3 casting to my phone, my smartphone, which I have a 15, not the Pro, but just the regular 15 Plus, I think, big one. Anyway, it's casting to my phone, so it's tracking my headset. But on top of that, it's also, my phone is mirroring to the TV screen, which is connected to, it's actually a computer monitor, but the computer monitor is hooked up to an Apple TV. Alright, there, so you can see the screen, see what I'm seeing. So, alright, so let's get going. So, basically, I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. I just haven't had a clear and cohesive enough idea of getting all my thoughts put into one video. So, I've been a pretty consistent watcher of The Chosen and the Brandon Snipe channel, or slash the Snipe Life. He has two different channels, but I follow them both as long as he's doing them pretty regularly. So he inspires me because of his love for Christian media, which we also share. He likes TV shows more. I used to be the guy that would go to the movies a lot whenever I could. That was my kind of go-to hobby. So I have that. It's different than him. So I'm kind of looking forward to any high quality media that comes out, not just TV shows, but also video games. So if there ever is like a startup studio that ends up putting out like Christian mobile gaming or console gaming that actually glorifies God and it's not just all about killing and gore, but like actually more, I guess more, it would probably fall into like software where you're like learning something or teaching something. Like I like the idea of crossing over mediums and genres with like making play the thing that is used to teach somebody a concept or an idea, not just reading about it like you do traditionally in the Bible. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like there's different learning styles, and for people that have a kinesthetic or visual learning style, there needs to be more of an outlet for those people to grasp certain things over just people that are like gifted in the word that are just auditory learners. So this is my attempt to help that creation. So I'm using what my experience of being connected to The Chosen so far has been like. So that's kind of my overall passion. But this specific video is for talking about my experience, my life experience with the show The Chosen, and kind of it ties into my personal testimony slash history. So I'm kind of gonna go over that in this video. So I'm gonna try and talk through it while I get the controllers to work for me. There's an app called Wander. It's basically like a Google Maps Street View, where you can like, or like just like a Google Maps, you can have like the map overhead and screen view or whatever. It's called Wander, but not Google Maps, but it's basically the same type of thing. I'm going to show you, so I guess a couple different things. I'm gonna start with my, so 2001, I was about 17. That's kind of when my life story intersects with some of the history of with The Chosen. So my dad growing up was a Bible camp director. So we ended up moving across the country several times. So
My dad.
He was a camp director at Black Creek Bible Camp for about 7 years, 6 summers, something like that. I was born in Tacoma, Washington, which is up by Seattle here where I'm playing. Here, we lived in a couple different places. Yeah, Camp Chaminade was where we would hang out when we weren't at school. We had our own cabin on site where my dad worked. We lived on Chaminade Lake. We moved to a house that wasn't on the lake, but that was the second house we were at the first time we moved to Minnesota. First time was to a log cabin on Lake Alexander. We were there for a year or so. I got baptized on Lake Chaminade. Brainerd. I don't remember exactly where it is. So from Minnesota, we moved back to Washington, and then because my mom hated the weather in Minnesota, and the calling for the camp seemed like it was complete from my dad's perspective. So we felt my parents wanted to go back to Washington, and then they tried to start up a business that wasn't really working. And then the friends that we had made, family friends in Minnesota the first time, wanted to start up a business with my dad. So then we ended up moving back to Minnesota and attempted to do that. And that lasted for several decades. But it was an online business thing that he was able to do remotely, and also do other things. He would also do like house remodeling, and I would help with that in my later years, like high school. So we lived in Minnesota twice, 2 years each time, 4 years total. In Washington, I was born there. We lived there until I was 10, like I said, and then 2 years after when we moved back. So it was like 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, and then when we were in Minnesota the second time, we got called. That's when I felt like we got the calling. My dad got the calling to be a camp director in Texas, and we'd never been to Texas, didn't know anything about it, but he got hooked up to Salvation Army camp, and we moved to a place called Midlothian, Texas, which we'd never heard of, for a camp called Camp Hobbitzel. So we ended up moving there for 2 summers. I worked there. My dad was there for 3. One of the summers, I think it was the summer of 2001, the first summer we were there. My mom and dad, my dad moved down there first. Actually, right before the move, we took a family vacation in Washington on a sailboat to the San Juan Islands area, and that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. Some of the highlights from that were seeing Star Wars and Spider-Man, the originals, and the prequel in theaters. So that summer, we worked back in Washington for that, and at that camp that we grew up at the Black Lake Bible Camp, which is near Tumwater. You're looking here. Zoom in at Tumwater. There's lake right here. Is Black Lake. So we were over in this area here. This is the camp. Camp's right around here. So so that was pretty cool. I had an early love of film production, and when my dad was a director at Black Lake, he helped develop Harmony Springs, which became an Old West town. It was in the early years, in the 90s, before a storm blew all the original, authentic Harmony Springs main site down. It had like an Old West, no electricity. It was like a tent, the Black Bear Cafe, blacksmith shop, the Old West jail. Anyway, there was a whole town set up, and the program director was really into the Old West vibe. He dressed in like authentic period and had a black revolver, and he used to tell us, he was the program director, and he used to tell stories to all the camp kids, and it was required that the summer staff dress in attire of the period, and they would have like skits where like they'd use their black powder guns filled with blanks, and they'd like do a skit where they'd fall off the top of the roof and like get shot and then jump off, and there's like stunts involved, and it was for a little kid watching it was pretty fun. And they had a drama camp take place where they actually filmed a camp made movie there called Harmony, which was supposed to be the story of how the town got its name, which as a kid was affected me. I really liked the music in that movie, and the director and songwriter of that show, Don Ingalls, who passed away. I guess he was connected to Gene Roddenberry at some point. He was friends with him in college or something. He was the one that filmed that, and so it was like a early development love for film and shows that took place on this site here. So Black Lake Elementary. That's this here where I'm pointing is the border of the camp, and then back in here is where Harmony Springs ended up being. So, or sorry, right here. This is Harmony Springs area now, but the modern day version of it is a lot different than. It had the same kind of concepts, but they're more structurally put in place, and they're more modernized. So like they don't feel like the authentic like time period. Like they had teepees and they had a fort, but the fort's no longer there. But the teepees are, but they're not like animal skin teepees. They're like, let's put in like real construction materials to modern day construction materials to build stuff, and then like let's have bathrooms with plumbing and stuff like that. And before it was just like outhouses and stuff. So anyway, so that's kind of covering my early love of film production and Christian media. So that kind of came with me. So getting back to, I guess, the story of where of The Chosen. When we were in Minnesota, we got the call to move to Texas. This was in 2001. Like I said, we went to Black Lake. That's where I got rabbit-tailed. So, and then after 2001, so we moved to, and I was homeschooled while we were living there in Texas at Camp Bobbitt. So see if I can find it. It's by Plano. Oblit. Oops. Zelle. Still remember how to spell it. Hoblitzell. Camp Hoblitzell, Midlothian, Singleton Road. Yep. So if you look, I'll drag this up. So this is part of it, the camp. So I used to, as my first job ever, was working at Camp Hoblitzell. So I did several tasks, I should say, while I was working here. The 2 summers that we were here, I had 2 different jobs. The first year it was wrangler / random maintenance and just doing whatever they needed done. So as part of the stuff that needed done, I would take these flags down periodically and then put them up again. So I'm familiar with this area. The house over here, I don't know if that's Dallas's house or not. It's my speculation, but that wasn't here. The offices weren't here. The where the set is over here. So let me go over here by this. This is the entrance. We took a summer camp photo right in front of the sign. I still have it, but we're sitting out in front, so I can prove that. But that was our house right there when I'm pointing. That's where I was homeschooled. That's where I lived for those 2 summers when I was 17, 18. So 10th and 11th grade. We had 2 cats, one of which was pregnant and got killed. Well, got stuck in the garage door one day, and yeah, it was sad. But anyway, that was the memory that we had when we were living there. So anyway, so if you're looking here on the map, this is the house right over from right here. See if we can. And directly across from it was the camp office at the time where Dad worked out of. It's right there. I think it's used for, when I came back later and tried to figure things out, it looked like it was being used for like storage or keeping, I don't know, whatever, laundry. I don't know. So during the program summer months, you're not able to go through the gate here because it's blocked. They don't want random people coming in while the kids are here. But this is the fence here that's way on the back. So we're standing here. This fence here is this fence where I'm pointing here. during the off season, this is left open. You can come in, and that's important for later. But for keeping on point for now, I'll just leave it at that. But you can come down this road, which is on the front side. So that's this building here where I'm pointing. So the road comes through here. You just follow the road, and it goes to the office buildings back there. So it won't. If you're familiar with the way that this interface is, this software, Wander, where it's got the blue line over the Singleton Road, I can only go places that's blue. So I can't. Since nothing's blue here. Well, maybe I can. And then I also did some pool work, like cleaning the pool. Yeah, we were on the swim team in Minnesota, my sister and I. So as kind of a way to practice our swim techniques, we would go here quite a bit. And in the summertime, it got to be really hot, so that was kind of our go-to when we weren't in school.
Also, the other thing we were able to do all the time that we took advantage of was to once a day to help ourselves to the snack shack where we could get a free drink or candy bar. So we took advantage of that all summer, usually on our way to the pool. So that was a cool benefit other than the golf cart. We always took the
golf cart down this road past what I think is the Colonel's house. It was at the time anyway. That's this building. It's kind of, think of it kind of like the White House. The Colonel, the top dog, is in the organization. It's where he lives. Apparently, at some point, they in the 80s, I had heard they had filmed Chuck Norris movies, and they were shot around in here somewhere. I don't remember the name of the movie. I never saw it. I just heard that. So, but anyway, getting back to the description of the things that I did when I was here. So this is the shop area. We kept the mule, which was like a four-wheeler for keeping the grain for the cattle, and they had longhorns and
cows and baby calves. They also had
horses that we would look after and tend to. So the horses were kept in here, and I had to shovel the manure and clean out the stalls and feed them. The feeding was done over in here. That's where they kept the food. And when we would like saddle up the horses and get on them, that would be over here too.
There was a baby calf we had to nurse to health with a bottle that we kept in here in this area. That was kind of fun.
And there was also pigs, sheep, goats, and chickens that were kept, and I had to clean out the stalls and kept the feed going. There's something over in here that I had to do for that, and then we would take the mule from the shop areas, pointing out over here, bring it down this road here, and then load it up with the feed. With all the feeds kept in this building here, and then take this road out here, and this property, this blue line actually passed the blue line. Where's all the way up to, see where this is also camp property here. At least it was. I don't know if it currently is. Might have been sold off or something. I don't know. 20 years ago, but I don't know. I did some mopping or maintenance in here at one point too. So this is all camp property. We would drive the mule or the horses, depending, to feed them and do whatever.
Also in the news at the time, the space shuttle had just crashed on re-entry, and rumor had it that some of the parts had landed on camp.
This wasn't here at the time. This is now the set for The Chosen, the interior soundstage that they built for season 3 forward. That's part of it. That's the new addition, and then the remodel is this here, which used to be called Fort Tejas. It was the Little Ropes Course fort that was here, and then now that's the Capernaum set that you're looking at now. So that's pretty cool. So it's still called Camp Hobbitzel Lake. I'm hoping at some point in the future they change the name of that to something, maybe Galilee Lake of Hobbitzel or something that's kind of honoring the current name, but also giving it more of a modern
connection to where it's supposed to be, which is the Sea of Galilee, because it's on the lake. I'll show you that. So this is for the chosen. This is supposed to be the Sea of Galilee. I found on the map where that is in real life for a biblical connection. So here's the world map. Here's Israel. If you zoom in, and you see Israel on the map. Here's the Dead Sea, and north of that, the next big body of water is the Sea of Galilee here. So kind of on the same general shore side, the northwestern side of the lake, Capernaum. So it's a different shape, obviously. But you still call Capernaum town of Jesus. And if you look, there's a church built here. So if you pick one of these blue dots, I gotta find the right one. That's the church right there. There's a closer view of it. But this is like underneath the foundation. This whole church is designed with a window in the floor, so you can look down in the church building and see this foundational work over here. This is by tradition said to be Simon Peter's house, where the disciples used to meet and talk in the show. Like, this is like the equivalent, I think, of that. So maybe there's a view of it from the top. I don't know. So here's the chapel that it's modern, you can go to, and then like here's the floor with the glass. You can look down, and that's the foundations of Simon Peter's house. So maybe there's another view from outside. Yeah, here's that same building, and then there's that same foundation again. You can see that. So that's supposed to be that same place that I pointed out on the map for the chosen. Going back. Boom. And there's a set. So, yeah. Like I said, just reiterating, that's that spot that church is built over the top of, supposedly. Anyway.
And that's the set for the synagogue right there in the front part. So this here, as you can see, is the ruin in the Middle East of the actual synagogue, right next to that church that I showed you. It's just to the north of that. So this is what the synagogue is modeled to look like. It looks pretty similar as what you can see from the ruin. That's right there between those two pillars. Would have been where Pilate's seat was, where I got to sit down, and kind of surreal being here. Pretty crazy looking. Like that on the map is where we're at. Is this the debate room where the Sanhedrin were debating? Is this the debate room where the Sanhedrin were debating? Like Caiaphas, that's his chair?
We had questions for Fogarty. We asked how to come back for the set visit. He said we could, we kept doing what we're doing. Basically, it would be the best way to get invited back for season 6. Just keep giving to the show. They have to reach out to you and give you the offer, basically. But yeah, I don't know what the amount is for giving, but my guess is it's probably several $100, if not a couple thousand. Yeah, I don't know. Me just giving by myself, I was in the couple $100 a month range, and I hadn't heard anything. And then the first year that my parents helped contribute to like a family, they let my wife and I delegate like family money to the end of the year at Christmas time, like financial giving. And the first year they did that, it was more, I can't remember the exact numbers, and I don't really want to give the exact numbers either, but it was more in the couple $1,000 range, and that's when we got our invite back. So that's why I'm thinking it's probably like in the $4,000 to $5,000 range, more than the couple $100 range. But I don't know. That's just my best guess. So anyway, here, and then our tour was concluded in the chapel. I pointed out the synagogue. Synagogue. Fogarty talked about Richard something, I think is his name, the guy that played Pilate. He wasn't a Christian or isn't a Christian. He was working on trying to get him to come to the Lord. He was ministering to him on the ride back from the airport, I guess, and it was, I think, telling that story to us just as a prayer request for him or something. And so that stood out to me. And then we walked back this way, used the bathrooms. There's like a wall in the back of so the front half is the synagogue, in the back there's like a staging holding area and then bathrooms. And so we used the bathrooms before we had to head out, and then went back to where the shuttle truck or vans that we used to get over here were staged, and we hung out over here for a little bit.
The Come and See Foundation couple,
hosts that ran that,
were Tyler Thompson's parents,
were on the tour with us. A couple. They talked a little bit about some stuff. So I think they pointed out, I asked some questions, and they clarified that this is where the tent city was set up for those scenes. You can see that in the shots of a couple of episodes. This here was used for like Simon Peter and Andrew's and Zebedee's business for fishing. I think like when Zebedee's selling his boat, he's out here. Rama and Thomas, when they're courting and talking about the logistics of getting married and how to make that work, they were sitting out here
where they were swimming. Remember that?
Remember the scene where they all got in the water and played the water?
Yeah.
Like the cleansing.
Yeah, that was here.
Yeah, that was here also.
Nice.
And what's crazy about that is Tyler's our son, the writer, co-writer, and he was making these biblical films when he was in middle school and high school. And occasionally we see a scene and we think, I've seen this scene before.
Oh God.
And we saw that scene where they're playing in the water together. And Mo and I looked at each other and we said,
we're done shooting for
that is the same scene that we shot at Souder Lake 15 years.
I don't know if you can guess.
So yeah, that's some of the reference scenes. I was thinking and taking video and photos.
That's Matthew's tax collector booth. I ran into Jeff Stabler on set while I was here. I didn't get any video though. It would have been too awkward. But I did get to show him my train project. That was pretty cool. Smells like fresh plywood. Today was the first day they started production in season 3. So that was fun being there. So that's the main Capernaum set. So zoom it back out. This is the sound stage. So between those two spots, they filmed most of season 3. So if you look on the map where I'm pointing, that's the dining hall across from Capernaum, across the water. So that's where I had my first job. This photo was taken when I came back, but it didn't look any different from when I worked there. But most of the second summer I was on camp, hanging out there. So it was weird to like look across the water and knowing now that my dream was coming true. This photo I also took when I came back in 2002 to visit the set.
Anyway, after the tour, we got back on our buses and came back this way and back here. So
I think that's true.
Is that right or wrong?
That's what I've heard.
That's what we've heard. The folklore is.
No.
Well, and I think we find olive trees in like Israel and it's like Greece.
Yeah.
Like they're not
And this
as
is-
like
to keep
spread
them
as like
alive.
oaks and things like that.
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
the last leg of the tour that we concluded with was with meeting in these
Cast.
glow things, which they built more recently. I guess initially they kept them in like hotels or something, and then got to be too expensive, so they needed them on set, and they built these things. So there's 12 of them, probably 6 each, and there's 2 different levels.
We got to meet up and talk with Tyler Thompson in the bungalow.
Asked him some questions. I asked about Shmuel, if he would end up being Paul from Acts. He said he could. That's a theory that's floating out. I heard that idea proposed by Brandon Snipe of the Snipe Life, and he couldn't really answer it. Said that's a thing that's out there. It's a possibility. I guess we'll find out. Kind of being cheeky about it, but yeah. Anyway, that was pretty cool. Some of the highlights from in here. So we started out here initially, and then toured everything. Went over here, did the tour, and then came back and finished in this building here. But to jump back to the first time we were here, we went through, I think, both of these sound stages. Fogarty was leading the whole tour. We started out at the beginning, so let me backtrack to where we first came in. We carpooled with my parents and sisters. They weren't invited, but they were our ride, so they were allowed to go through security and drop us off. We were all our people that were on the tour kind of congregated right in here past the security checkpoint. They have it fenced off, and then there's a guard station there. But we basically shuttled, said goodbye to mom and dad, and shuttled. They left, and we went over.
On the way out of the tour after everything, we had to wait in the security booth for mom and dad to come pick us up. I got to talk to the security guard about the show. He hadn't seen it, but he had to check in all the actors as they came through security. So I got to give him my poster with all the actors' names on it.
Over here, following the guy that was leading us to the Come and See office, which was one of these buildings, I think. So yeah, they had a cafeteria set up. I want to say it was this one, like a cafeteria, and then the office somewhere in here, and they had some bathrooms over in here. So this is kind of where we got oriented for our tour. We met Fogarty, met the Come and See couple. Talked about what we could do and what we couldn't do. If we see any casts, they were in production and in filming that day. So they were shooting up until noon and then had a mandatory lunch break. And so we were there, I think, at around 11 or so. So we had like an hour to get to see them filming before they broke for lunch. That was cool. I brought my backpack with a bunch of shirt stuff that had my basically homemade merchandise that I made for my shirts and posters that I was promoting. And a mug, and I got to give the mug and the poster to the Come and See guys, or Come and See couple. So that was pretty cool. They liked that. It was kind of like a modified version of one of the posters they already had out, but it had like some naming and labeling. I thought it might help for non-fans of the show to keep track of who's who, kind of thing. Anyway, so after our tour orientation, we basically walked through here. I think we started out in one of these. I don't think we actually went through both of them, because I think one of them was being used for season 5. You couldn't see it yet, but the Garden of Gethsemane stuff, which was under lock and key, and in retrospect now, I think part of the scenes for the upper room were probably also under lock. We didn't see any of that.
Did a good job at hiding it. That's Matthew's tax booth right there. Oh, wow. And so this whole little courtyard here, where this marketplace, all the archway up top, all that's been added for season 5. This entire facade in front here was added for season 5 as well. That's actually will be the upper room.
Oh wow!
So that staircase up through that door, and you can see through the window that there's nothing up there because the upper room's on the soundstage. So
We saw the exterior, which I pointed out when we were at the other scene, but the interior, which I didn't. But we saw like Phoebe's house, which was in here. Simon or Pilot's quarters, like his house and his office. We didn't see Pilot's interior. We saw that was the exterior on the other set. But at least I don't remember seeing it. But the Phoebe's house was where they were actually shooting when we got to walk in and see it. It was a closed set, but we saw it on the monitor.
We watched them film season 5 right over there where those monitors are. So you couldn't really hear them talking, but you could see the scene playing out in that on the monitors, which was taking place in that building right behind us.
They were like 10 feet away from us, so you could hear them and see them on the monitor. After they yelled cut, we got Jonathan came out. We saw him from like 5 feet away, and I don't know if he saw our group, but
George Xanthas.
actor that plays John came over and said hi to our group, and that was pretty cool. He was really nice about it and friendly, just saying thanks for supporting. We appreciate you coming out. And so it was brief and it was cool. You could tell they were both kind of focused, and then they told us not to, treat them like a deer. You don't want to get too close and like upset them. You don't want to be like, like hi, friendly, but don't make them feel weird or awkward. They're in the zone. If they have questions, let them approach you. That's, I guess, the deer analogy. Which they did. The second time I ran into him actually in the wardrobe department. I think that's this building here. We were touring after the sets, and we were checking out like all the main cast wardrobe, which I think is in here, and then they have like where they do the laundry, like a laundry mat, which you never really think about, but it was a pretty big one, so it stood out. Jackie really liked this area. She's into embroidery and crochet and blanket making stuff, so she was intrigued by this. And that's when Jonathan
Rumi
and
George Xanthas, or AKA
Jesus and John, let's just say that.
I think they were wandering around after lunch between takes.
They came by and met up our group with our group. It was a little bit more personal this time. They actually interacted with us a little bit longer, which was cool. We got a group photo with them. I gotta give Jesus a hug, or Jonathan a hug. That was pretty cool. In the photo, you can see that, and I gotta ask him, or I gotta talk to him for a second. I told him I saw his documentary biopic on Jonathan and Jesus. I just finished watching that on Amazon. Thought it was good. He said it was
a trying time in his life, having to shoot that. Wasn't sure if he'd want to do something like that again. Kind of got the impression it was hard on him. Seemed like it was
draining or stressful or kind of a vulnerable kind of a experience. At least that's the gist of the vibe that I got from what he said. So I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly
words, but that was at least the impression I got from what he said. So even though George or John was there, we didn't really get a chance to talk to him. He was talking with the other people in our group, and he remembered us from Chosen Con. At least later he would, when we met up the cast in the meet and greet at Chosen Con.
It was cool. I was focused more on Jonathan this time, since we ran into
George or John a little bit earlier before on set.
So anyway, that was the highlight, I would say, of the tour. We didn't get the photos until afterward. They emailed it to us because it was a group thing and they wanted to make sure everybody had it. So we ended the tour kind of getting our stuff back in, maybe it was this, the same come and see office area. And yeah, they thanked us for coming. I think that was about it.
We had to call Mom and Dad.
To come get us, we had to call them while they were on their way. The come and see couple gave us a ride back to the security office where we got to wait for him. So I got the security guard didn't really know much about the show. He had to check in the actors, but he hadn't seen the show. So I gave him one of my posters of the show with the cast on it and told him I was a fan and tried to like kind of inform him about it a little bit and told him a little bit about my background. So that was kind of a cool witness moment. So that was a highlight also. So then we went back and into town and toured the rest of the familiar sites of Midlothian and Waxahachie from our lives, kind of reminiscing for Jackie and Jeremy, my wife and brother-in-law, they didn't come along till later in our life, and this was reminiscing 20 years ago. So we were kind of like, they were kind of on the outside of it, but we were having fun, kind of educating them about it. So yeah, that was our experience at this place the third time, I guess. So first time was living here. The second time for me was coming back by myself and visiting the camp during season 3 production and the set was being built, and reminiscing by myself through the camp. And then the third time was when we came back for the set visit, which I just explained, which my family was on with me, but they were unable to actually go through the gate because they were in session. It was in June, and so they could only go to this part of the camp. They could go to the office and look and see Capernaum from from a distance, but I couldn't actually see the camp, which I was bummed for them for that. But I had kind of had my fill from before, so I was okay. And we had more of a focus on the town and other things, and so it worked out. I think we had hoped maybe in the future to come back again and actually see the camp with Mom and Dad at some future time when they're actually letting people through, but not this far. So yeah, some other highlight. I'm trying to think of what other highlights. So during the first phase when we were all living here in 2000, from 2001 to 2003, somewhere between my two jobs at the Disher and the Wrangler, my sister Melissa and I were part of part of the school program. We did the music conservatory, maybe for credit, I don't remember why, but we did. I was a little bit late to the party. Melissa started a little bit sooner than me, I don't remember. I think because I was maybe being busy with dishes or something, I don't know. But this middle part here is where the classes were held for band and drama, or band and choir. The drama was held back in here, and then this was the guys' sleeping quarters and the girls' sleeping quarters. So I actually didn't do very well in the band. I didn't read sheet music and didn't play an instrument, so I ended up doing choir. But I tested out of the two different classes, I was in the higher. I guess they liked my voice and they thought I did good, so I got to participate in the choir for the higher ups. So I did that here. I can still remember the 1 1 2 1 1 2 3 2 1 1 2 3 4 3 2 1 1 2 3 4 5 4 3 2 1. It still sticks in my mind. I don't know why. It was just a practice thing that we did. And then I did drama here. And so a highlight from that for me, which is surreal, I ended up playing Jesus in a skit that we kind of ad-libbed, or I don't know, we've had a little bit of practice. We didn't have any lines, there was no talking, it was music and then like motion moving, but I was taking on and performing the role of Jesus. I think the drama director chose me because I was the biggest one of the 4 of us that were there, I think. But I just remember it being an honor and kind of being a moment in time that God gave me. So it's kind of surreal now looking back, knowing that I played Jesus at Camp Hobblezell 20 years before Jonathan did. But yeah, it's crazy. It's true. Not everybody will believe me, but I know it's true. And then we play. I remember walking down this road, talking to our drama teacher about it, kind of getting us mentally prepared for it. It was in one of the, I want to say it was here. It was in like one of the big chapel areas. It was for a bunch of kids, not like little kids, like junior high maybe. I don't know. I have a stage fright, so I wasn't trying to stay too focused on the audience. I was trying to just, do what I needed to do and stay focused on what my line or my part was. So I remember just walking and having jitters and praying about it and hoping that God would use it. And so that was cool. So that was a really cool highlight, especially in retrospect now. See what else? Oh, here's the end of the year for the conservatory, or the program after the 6 or 8 weeks or whatever it was. We did a dance, a school dance, or a conservatory dance, which was probably the closest since I was homeschooled to ever having I never had an official dance for high school, so this was the closest thing to that I had. So we dressed up and got to dance with the girls, and it was like a big deal. And so I think it was here, and this was like another chapel building, I think, that we were able to use, and they cleared out and had it set up for like party, and so we did that. There was a girl that kind of liked me, I think. I thought she was cute, but I was really inexperienced and had no idea how to like interact with her or be like, I don't know, approach it in a right way, and didn't really feel like I had any like personal connection with her outside of just like thinking she was cute. And I think she wanted me to ask her or something, and I didn't. I chickened out, and then I think she was mad, and she seemed like she turned on me or something. Girl drama, but whatever. It was early live and learn kind of thing. So my camp name while I was on summer staff was Jedi, so got that mainly because I was a Star Wars fan. So I've had several different camp names over the years. At Black Lake, my camp name was Pillager. I didn't have one when I was at Chaminade because I didn't actually work on staff at Chaminade. I attended as a camper, but not as a summer staff. So only Black Lake and Chaminade was I on summer staff. So yeah, so this is it, I think, for this video. I can't think of anything else that I haven't talked about, didn't cover. Yeah, so kind of a combination of life story with a focus on some of the overlap in The Chosen, and some research that I've done outside of that to connect it to biblical connections of the Middle East, like when I went over and talked about the location of Eden's house and Simon's house and the Capernaum synagogue in the real place. So if that is any interest to you or anybody, or even if not, I did this kind of for my own record too. So I mean, guess take it or leave it. I won't be offended, but if you find it helpful, hopefully that would be nice as well. So anyway, I guess I'm ending this video here.